Do not be afraid of silence. It is okay. It is completely okay. People are just freaked out by silences. They think that you have to be talking every minute of every day to people, and you don't. I don't care if it's a first date. I don't care if you're with a group of people. If there's a silence, it's absolutely okay. The worst thing you can do is to just utter something that makes no sense, because I've heard people do that because they don't want silence, so they'll say anything that comes off the top of their head, and you don't want to do that, because that is when you're going to say something really silly, something that you're going to regret for a long time. So what's better? Saying something that you'll feel dumb and maybe even embarrassed about, or an awkward silence. An awkward silence wins hands down. But I understand you don't want it to go too long. So if it goes past 15 seconds, and 15 seconds can last a long time when there's a silence and it's you and one other person, think ahead of time of something that you might be able to say. Think of the little nuances in life, like the conversation you had at the grocery store with the cashier. Oh, the cashier just told me the funniest thing. You know, the little things that happen in your life from just day-to-day things that you really don't think about, but are sometimes funny and sometimes interesting. So think back on the last few days and the people you've run across, and just think of something that somebody said that struck you. It doesn't have to necessarily be funny, just something interesting. And then keep that in your head when you're going to do something with someone where you think there might be an awkward silence. Say it's a long evening, or just it's one-on-one for the whole time, for the whole dinner, something like that. Also, think of some questions that you can ask the other person. As I've said many times before, people love to talk about themselves. It's their favorite subject. So think of something about that person that you don't know. Like, oh, where did you grow up? And you might have addressed that question already. But you could say something further like, what nursery school did you go to? Or what's your neighbor do for a living? I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but if you can think of something to relate, because you could say, oh, what did your neighbor do for a living? Because I know somebody from that neighborhood who worked at such and such place. You see what I mean? Something that you can somehow relate to, and that will engage this person and get them really, really talking. So the idea is that you don't have to keep talking. It's that you get the other person to start talking. And like I said, please don't worry about an awkward silence at all. It's not awkward. And some people will just stop talking, period, so that you will feel like you have to just supercharge that conversation. And they do this all the time because they don't want to make the effort. Well, if they're not going to make the effort, maybe it's somebody that you don't want to be around so much anymore. Maybe you don't have enough in common to keep the conversation going. So think about why you're with this person and why there's always silences to begin with. And you think, well, are we compatible? Maybe that's what you need to be looking at, not stressed out so much about all the silences.